Buonasera a tutti. Buonasera, bonsoir, buenas noches, welcome, good night. I'm happy to be here in this third appointment of the seminar of the SpeleoMedit project. I'm Ferdinando Di Donna, the Vice President of TETIDE Association that is organizing these events with the collaboration of all the authors that have been working with us for the project SpeleoMedit. Tonight we have Didier Cailhol. He is a speleologist, first of all, but as a geomorphologist and karstologist. Actually, he works in the National Institute for Preventive Archaeology in the southwest of France, in Toulouse, and is an associate researcher to the Toulouse Jean Jaurès University and the Traces Laboratory. Didier is also, since many years, a caver, a speleologist, and he has been devoted to an aspect that we will discover tonight. It's more about cave morphology, evolution, and karst landscapes. And this is part of the work that Didier has carry on during this year, but not only in France, but in many places. In exploring, he has done cave exploration and research in Switzerland, Crete, Algeria, and Romania. As a geomorphologist, also he has worked in hello Didier in in particular aspect of geomorphology with the archaeologists on the environmental evolution from the Paleolithic times to the modern period, using natural record in caves, deposit fluvial, glacier landform, hydrogeology, etc. So he is a specialist in this sense, and he is a specialist in the Alps and Pyrenean Mountains, Jura, Archet, Vézère, Valley Burgundy, the Val de Burgundy, and the Réunion Island out of the Mediterranean area. And especially in Europe, he has worked also in Italy, Romania, Switzerland, Greece, Germany, and Cyprus, North Africa and Algeria, Morocco, and Tunisia, in the Middle East, in United Arab Emirates, Oman, and Lebanon, Laos, and Cuba. So Didier knows very well karst and caves around the world, but tonight he will speak us about the Mediterranean project. So thank you, Didier. Welcome to this seminar. It's the third one, and go ahead with your presentation. Welcome.
Okay. Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak about this particular karst, the geomorphology of a Mediterranean area. It's a complex subject, as we can see in a few minutes, because it's a very huge area and with a very, very different ecosystem and landform and landscape. It's a very huge, it's a very important part of humanity also, because if Africa is the cradle of humanity, many of the civilizations are began in and develop a lot in this area and have a lot of importance in this part. So as you can see, it's a very huge area, including North Africa, a part of the Middle East, the Europa, and also a part of the Asia with Turkey and Black Sea. So, okay, as we can see, there is also karst in the Mediterranean area in this part. There is a lot of karst and very different karst. How it arrive? It's a long evolution of geology in this area, because it's a tectonic place very important. During the Tertiary, it was the Tethys Ocean, where start the history of that, and with the evolutions of the Atlantic, and also with moving of a plate, the African plate, the European plate, the Iberic plate, and so on, there are a lot of change in the morphology and the geography. So as you can see on this map of this morpho and tectonic maps on the right of the screen, it's a very sharp relief with deep sea basin, with high mountain, with the Carpathian, the Alp mountain, all the Italian mountain also, and in the Iberic plate, you have the Pyrenean, but also the Betic Cordillere, and also the reef and the different atlas in the North Africa. So it's yes, a very complex evolutions with different basin and very sub-basin moving a lot. There is a lot of change, and there is a compartment, many compartments organized in the different part along the evolutions of the geology. You have many faults with distension, with some Algério-Provençal basin arriving, with sometimes you have also some compressions in the Italian, with the Italy, and also in the part of the Turkey and in the Levantine Sea also. It was very active of the tectonic. In the past, you have some from the Cretaceous, from Eocene, Oligocene. The Tethys domain was affected by subduction from the Africa, and with wide tectonic extensions. The Tyrrhenian Oceanic opening gradually and change a lot to arrive to the actual Mediterranean Sea. As you can see, there is the Sardinia, Iceland, and Corsica was moving a lot. There is also some Cantabric mountain arriving, and Betic Cordillera, sorry. The Balearic promontory also was forming during this period. And at the end of this moment, after all these subductions, in the same times where the Alp was growing up, you have also, at the end of the Miocene, a major event, the Mediterranean salinity crisis, arriving before 5 million years ago, at the end of the Messinian, at the starting of the Pliocene. During this period, there was big evaporations of the Mediterranean Sea due to the enclosure the enclosure of the Mediterranean basin with no connections with the Atlantic. And during this moment, all the water was evaporated with a lot of gypsum deposit and salt deposit at the bottom of the basin. And this was a very important event and very tragic events, because all the karst has changed a lot to this moment. At the end of this, as we can see, there is deep karst in all around the Mediterranean Sea, we can see in France, for most particularly, with many springs like Fontestramar, Port-Miou, and Mescla, or also Goule du Pont, Goule de la Tannerie, who were explored by divers, and with a very, very deep diving, more than 200 meters deep. These events was very important because there is a huge new organizations of karst in deep. For example, in Avignon, in the Rhône Valley, the canyon was 900 meters deep at this moment. And after the Vaucluse Spring was flooding at the bottom of this canyon. After this period, 5.3 million years ago, there is a new opening of the Baltic Cordilleran, and the Atlantic was flooding in the Mediterranean with a mega flooding, refilling the Mediterranean Sea very, very quickly. It was the Zanclean flood. The feeding of the Mediterranean was very speed, less than 1,000 years. So it was a completely change, and the effect of the karst was very important because all the whole system was need to readapt to these new conditions. And as we can see in some different parts, in around the Gulf du Lion, for example, it was a very good part to understand that, but also in the Macedonian or also in Greece, we have some very typical cave network with with different steps and with horizontal cave according the upfilling of the Mediterranean Sea. For example, in Saint Marcel Cave, we have several levels, several stages of upfeeding of the Mediterranean, what we can observe in the gallery. Also, it was a system with paragenetism, with many clay deposits and very special morphology in the cave. As we can see in this area, we have several steps and more than 200 meters of recording of the elevations of the sea level. For example, you have on this map of Saint Marcel cave system, you have five horizontal level corresponding to the different sea level evolutions. Actually, only the deepest part is with water, is the phreatic zone, and explored by divers more than 160 meters long at 140 meters deep, and it's going on. But all of the other levels are now dry, they are fossils, and we have some record of these evolutions. It's very, very particular. In the phreatic part, the divers make many measurements for electric conductivity, water chemistry, and so on. And with that, we can understand how was organized the deep aquifer of this area. And it's very important because in the Mediterranean basin, water supplies and karst aquifer are very important to provide water for populations. Another important feature of geomorphology of the Mediterranean karst is the hypogenic cave. As we have discussed, we have a lot of tectonic activities. There is a lot of seismic, but also a lot of subductions. And with that, we have some hypogenic feature. In Italy, we have a lot of that. All the country have a lot of hypogenic cave, Fasassi and so on. The example here is in France. Sorry, I'm French. It's a Grotte du Chat in the Alpes-Maritimes, but it's a very typical water table corrosion cave and very didactic for hypogenic feature. We have some H2S evaporations and make some corrosions of limestone and giving some gypsum by a transform of H2S and H2S with oxidations of H2SO4. And with that, we have a lot of corrosion convection systems, and we have some typical feature. And also, we have some very maze cave with a labyrinth in many places. They are typical of that, and with also the pocket corrosions with cupola and also some feeders where the H2S arrive. This is a very important feature. You have this in many places in Sicily, in Italy, many places in Italy, in France. We have also that in Macedonia, in the Balkan also, and it's important because it's a very typical karst feature of the Mediterranean. If we can look, we have also some different places. We have mountain alpine cave and alpine karst, like in Slovenia, but also in Italy, also in France, with the south of the Alps, with the Pyrenean Alps mountain, in Spain, with the Betic Cordillere. We have also in the Pyrenean, the Spanish Pyrenean also, and in Lebanon and Greece also have very high mountains. In Crete, for example, it's very typical of alpine karst. Also, there is some podzier, like in the Slovenian or in the Balkan, Romania, and also there is this typical landform on landscape and this karst with a special dynamic according the rain period and the dry period. The Slovenian Alps, and in the Alps you have also the heritage of the glacial heritage. During the Pleistocene, there is a lot of ice in this mountain with glacier, dynamic glacier, but also ice cape in a different place. And there is a large print in the landscape and in the landform, and also in the karst system organizations. Many cave systems in this area are completely linked with the evolutions of the ice and the glacial evolutions, mainly during the warming at the end of the Pleistocene, with a lot of flood events and a lot of water going through this cave. One other characteristic of the Mediterranean karst is the importance of the cave networks. A lot of caves are discovered, explored, and described by the speleologists. And if we take the example of the Slovenia, with the Slovenian cave register, we can see there is hundreds and hundreds of caves in many places in all the karst. There is big system connected, like Postojna Planinska cave system, but also you have a very important cave system in Italy, in France, with some cave system more than 100 kilometers in the Pyrenean mountain, for example, or in the Alps, in the south of the Alps, we have also big system with 40, 60 kilometers long. In Crete also, we have deep cave system, more than 1,000 meters deep. We have also the big tunnel cave around the Balkan area. It's very important. Also, we have typical dry land karst in the southern Mediterranean, in Egyptia, also in Algeria, we have typical of that. Tunisia also, we have this landform with some area with less than 300 millimeters of precipitations by years. And we have in the Alps, for example, in some place more than 3 meters of precipitations by years. It's a completely different contrast. But this is the karst. This is the karst of the Mediterranean domain. In the island, we have also some very, very typical karst. And I've taken the example of Cyprus, where we have a project with US and also the European Speleological Federations. And we will make some study from different caves of the Pyrenean range and to understand how was the evolution of this cave. And yes, as you can see, the Pyrenean range are not very high mountains. It's 800 meters, but it's very young mountains and in a very, very dry context. It's 400 millimeters of water by a years of precipitations by a years in this area. But it's very close to the sea level with a huge humidity. So there are very interesting processes to study the evolutions of the cave system, especially the condensation corrosion processes involved in this area, and to see how was the evolutions of that. We study this with Carole Nermé, my colleagues, and Philippe Audra, and also with collaborations. It was a collaborative science project with speleologists from the Cyprus area, from the two parts of Cyprus, and also with some colleagues from Croatia, from Greece, from Lebanon also. It was a very interesting collaborative project to study that. We have also looked at the gypsum karst. That is very important. The gypsum forming during the Mesidian crisis. And now there is outside, and there is some cave forming by dissolutions of the gypsum. And we have distinguished two type of cave: fracture cave, very close to the cliff, and discharge cave inside the gypsum massif by the dissolutions of the gypsum due to the condensation corrosion processes. And for example, you can see this typical profile and this typical landform in the gypsums, very horizontal cave, and with notches due to the condensation due to the temperature to the cave climate. We're wondering if it was an old phreatic system and with solutions not, and it's not really clear. Actually, the hypothesis it was morphology is completely linked with the condensation corrosion processes linked to the cave climate. And we have some dissolutions formations with a bar sealing channel and some crust with secondary mineralizations of the gypsum in the bottom of the gallery. The evaporation is very, very important, and there is some ruins growing upward. It's not really easy to explore and to make some studies in this area, as you can see of this photo. And it's very important to have the collaborations with cavers, because they are experts for exploring cave, for moving in a very narrow part, and also to make some measurement. It's very important to have these collaborations. And also they go very, very often in cave, so they are able to monitoring some different part of the cave. And as you can see in this project, it was a part of science, but also it was a part of teaching and training for science studies further. Conclusions, as you can see, the Mediterranean karst, the karst of the Mediterranean domain is a very complex, the complexity of a karst system, but with a different type of karst organizations, phreatic, epiphreatic, we have hypogenic cave, we have also deep cave system, mountain cave systems. We have a complexity of a territory with alpine territories, plateau territories. We have also very dry and very coastal ecosystems. And these geosystems are very, very important for the history of the Earth. It's also important because in this area, a lot of cultural and natural heritage are discovered and described, and it's necessary to protect them. And for that, the collaboration between scientists, speleologists, and also the local populations is very important to preserve and to make this area sustainable for life and for the future. So well, this is how we have done our organizations and how we work with this kind of project. And I thanks for your attentions.
Thank you, Didier. We have some problem with Ferdinando audio. We don't listen him.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, it was a little bit confused, my presentation, because it's very, very difficult, and I've not repeat enough before.
We don't listen, Ferdinando. Okay, we wait Ferdinando. Thank you, Didier, for your presentation. And I remember to the other one, the people that see the seminar the next week. We have the next seminar on biospeleology. And thank you very much. And I hope to meet you in France this summer to the Congress, and we continue to work on the SpeleoMedit project. Thank you, Didier. Have a good night.
Good night. Bye-bye. Thank you for your attention.
After, wait, there is Ferdinando. No, he has some problem. No. No. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.